Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Hi, everybody. Granddaughter Crow here with yet another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. And we actually are going beyond today because I got an astrologer, right? And this is such a special show because we're kicking off 2026 with help from an astrologer. Not so that you float up into the stars, but that you can draw down your strengths, make them grounded, embodied. It's going to be a brilliant conversation. Let me tell you before I bring her on who I have here for you today. Today I have Narayana Montúfar. She is a writer, right? We'll be talking about her books, astrologer, like I just said, also a Akashic Records practitioner. Always love that. Visual artist, of course, all things creative, and also the author of Moon Signs. Unlock your inner luminary power. Pick it up. It is available and written in your stars, which I think is just so personalized. That book is Using Your Saturn Return, Pluto square, and other planetary cycles to become your best self. Which I'm not sure if you guys know a lot about astrology, but Saturn return, Pluto square, those are the things that we're like, Mercury retrograde, wah. But she is able to do this so that you can utilize these tools to become your best self. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so she thrives on maintaining a sacred and intimate connection with the sky through her writing, private readings. Remember, private readings and abstract paintings. I just got to tell you guys, she will do a personalized birth chart painting for you. We'll mention that a little bit more in the show. Very excited, obviously. So, she believes that the power of the universe is best harnessed when we try to access it from within ourselves. As above, so below. I love it. She also was featured as one of Vogue's 13 astrologers to follow in 2021. She was the senior astrologer for astrology.com and horoscope.com. Yeah, she knows her stuff, right? And now she serves as the in house astrologer for House of Intuition and currently writes for Forever Conscious and Parade. You can also find her writing and astrology insights in Vogue, hello, Teen Vogue, Cosmopolitan, Women's Health, and more and more. And it keeps growing and it keeps growing. I am so excited. Narayana, I got you on the show.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. I feel such a strong connection with you immediately. And when we conversed about having this beautiful collaboration, I was just really excited. Yeah, so thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's all my pleasure to be able to have you on the show and to share you with the listeners. And oh my goodness, let's just kind of jump in a little bit. So, astrology. Yeah, I mean, we all know astrology. You get, oh, my sun sign is this and my moon sign is that. But the beauty about you is that you take all of this studying and help embody it and reflect it. So it's not just like the scary astrologer reading, oh, your life's going to suck today. Hang on, kids. It's more of a, oh, well, this is going to be kind of a square or an opposition, and this is how you can make it grow for you, which I love about you. I too feel an immediate connection with you. So much so, listeners, have you ever accidentally been like, oh, hi, bye, mom. Oh, I love you, or whatever at the end of a call. At the end of my call with Mariana, it was like, I was like, okay, love you, bye. I was like, what did I just say? I'm like, past life, Akashic Records, what's going on? But I really enjoy that. So, my first question to you is with astrology, I mean, you pretty much full-time astrologer. So you are looking at the cosmos on behalf of us and translating it here for us. What drew you to the stars, and how is it that you are able to translate? I know that's an odd question. How do you translate it? And you're like, I just do, granddaughter. But you translate it into an embodiment. What drew you to the stars?
Well, this translation, this is going to be a little bit of like a long answer, but
Yes.
going over, we know everybody knows their sun sign, right? I always knew I was a Scorpio, the most misunderstood sign, but we won't go there today. Maybe another time.
Yes.
I always knew that. But when I had my first astrology reading as a teen, I was still living in Mexico City. The one thing I remember was the astrologer telling me, "You are here to serve." That's the only thing I remember. And I didn't get it at the time. I was too young. I was a teenager. And I was like,
Sure.
oh, okay.
Great. Is there any money with that? Like what?
And then fast forward to 2011, because like the reason why I think that I'm able to translate astrology is because I was in the incubation for a really long time. So I started my editorial career in astrology in 2011. So I've been doing astrology full time ever since. But it was more from an editorial lens, like actually translating English into Spanish content, assigning pieces, our horoscopes, articles, anything
Yeah.
to astrologers, numerologists, Chinese astrologers. So I was in that incubation for a good amount of 7 years before I actually decided to fully step into my role as an astrologer because I felt like I needed to. It was during that time that in that incubation period, I actually started going to classes in person because I said to myself, I need to know what I'm doing.
Right.
I need
Right.
to know what I'm doing. There are a lot of editors who are okay doing that without fully knowing, but I'm a Scorpio. I like to
Get in there.
dive deep.
Yes.
I don't like to be told. In my human design, I am an investigator. That's one of my profiles. So I go on rabbit holes. I love doing that. And in 2018, when I was taking it more seriously, and I was still at those jobs, but life just took me in that direction. I started getting all these interviews by like really big publications. Refinery 29 would interview me every single week, and my name just started growing, and I just felt like I needed to step into that role. And that was the first in 2018, my Reiki teacher, because Reiki was kind of like my gateway into healing myself through,
Yes.
healing my trauma, healing my shadow. My Reiki teacher said, I would love a reading from you.
Oh,
And then I said, oh, I'm happy to introduce you to, I mean, I know so many fantastic astrologers. And they said, no, I want this reading from you. And that was the universe pushing me. And ever since then, I have never stopped doing readings. I've been doing readings ever since. So I've done hundreds of them. And when I decided to shift my role as like a managing editor to senior astrologer, my husband said, are you sure you want to do this? This is a big shift.
right.
And I don't want you to lose all your editorial, you know. I've been
Right.
doing editorial for so long. And I said, this feels right. Because when I started studying astrology, everything, it was almost like I was downloading. It was just, this is my language. I know this. I've known this before. So it was more like remembering. And that decision changed my life drastically.
Wow.
My life started taking off. I became happier. I became more empowered. And here we are.
Love it. Because when
Mhm.
I was talking to you, I was kind of like, I speak astrology because it is a language in and of itself. And it's not just memorizing the sign or memorizing the planet, it's understanding the energy that is within the sign that drives the sign. It's understanding the energy within the planets and then understanding how these all talk to each other. And I'm just like, and I love it that you do this, that you were in the editorial because we will get into it, but I was reading some of what you write and I'm like, excellent translator. I mean, if you know astrology, it's it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got it. If you don't know astrology, you're like, oh, okay, I got it. I mean, you really are very clear in what you write. So, moon signs. I do want to touch on your first book because I love moon signs. I think we have the same moon sign, Leo and moon, right?
Yay! Yes, yes,
Right? Which is why we're on the podcast being all sparkly.
exactly, exactly.
So you have your first book was Moon Signs, Unlock Your Inner Luminary Powers. What inspired you to go with the moon sign? Because so many people go with the sun. And the sun is like, oh, everybody knows their sun sign, just like you said. What inspired you to go to the moon signs?
Looking back, I was having a really, really beautiful moon activation in my birth chart that changed my life. And I won't get into technicalities, but looking back, I'm realizing that that was the beginning of my work to empower the feminine, which is a big part of my work.
Makes
To
sense.
to empower the feminine, because since we've lived in a patriarchal society for thousands of years, and we were not like that, humanity, it's a myth. I won't go into other things, other opinions that I have,
I
but
got you, though. I got you. Yep.
yeah,
Hmm.
thousands of years in this patriarchal solar, not that the sun is bad, the sun is the giver of life in our solar system. We wouldn't be, just like plants can live without the sun, we couldn't either. I'm not saying that. It's more like the patriarchal lens that we experience for so long of the sun, the leadership, visibility, go go go, these conditioning that we've had for so long about how only the light matters. You go to sleep every night, right?
Yes.
That's the moon.
Right.
You go to sleep every night, you heal, you dream, you receive messages through your subconscious mind. Why do you think we sleep 1/3 of the time? We need that. It's the dark, it's the feminine, it's what holds us in our most nurturing, in our most vulnerable. That's the moon.
I
It's
love
the unconscious. The sun is conscious, right? It's what you're aware of.
it.
Your
Yeah.
moon sign is all of the things everybody sees about you, but not you, except for you.
Yeah.
Who you are, who you truly are behind closed doors, how you are in your most vulnerable. And it is through the moon that you get to know yourself. At a more practical level, the moon rules your sleeping patterns, your eating habits, how you love, what you need to feel loved. And so at that time, I wasn't realizing that, because the moon was so, my progress moon was so prominent in my chart. I didn't realize that that was the beginning of that, but ever since I've just been in on this journey to empower the feminine, the divine feminine. Also, we do that by empowering the divine masculine. I'm very aware of that.
I agree.
And so I think that was the reason behind it. And I'm just kind of putting two and two together a couple of years ago, but that was the beginning of it all.
Love it. And I also love that you said, empowering the divine feminine does not mean that we are subtracting from the divine masculine. It's about equalizing. Yes,
Mhm,
I agree so much. And I absolutely, I mean, I come from the Navajo Nation, and that's actually a it's not it's more of a matriarchy. So
mhm,
there's a little bit of me that naturally understands the matriarchy and having that mother and all of that. But then again, I'm a Cancer sun, so of course I'm going to be all about the moon because, the
Yeah,
moon rules
exactly.
Cancer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Woo.
I mean, I remember when I found out my moon sign, it was like it all makes so much sense. I mean, that's why the book is called Unlock. It's to unlock, right? Like
Yes.
my relationship with my mom, my mood swings, this desire to be acknowledged, because Leo is all about being acknowledged. It's not about being seen like you'll read in the memes. It's about feeling acknowledged.
Oh my goodness. And so then you have another book, your second book. And I love this because a lot of people say written in the stars, oh, it was written in the stars. And I love that you're like, no, it's written in your stars using your Saturn return, which I'm like, I'm coming up on my second Saturn return in Taurus. So I'm like, all things gotta buy the book. How can I do this to empower myself instead of be afraid of my Saturn return? And Pluto squares and other planetary cycles to become your best self. I love the approach. And so, talk to us a little bit about, well, I guess Saturn return, Pluto square, these are harsher type of, well, at least that's how I understand it. It's harsher for me because it's like Saturn is old to me, old father time. The voice in your head that's like, what have you been doing? Are you on the right path? Be responsible and all of those types of things, which I feel like I am until Saturn return happens, and then I have to re-examine everything. Under my first Saturn return, I went to school. I started college when I
Mhm.
was 30. And now I'm coming up on my second one, and it is kind of scary. So, Written in Your Stars, can you tell us a little bit about that book and what inspired that book? Give us a little bit of an overview because that's on my list to get. I need that book. Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a copy as a gift. Yeah, I'm gonna send you a copy as a gift for sure.
There you
For
go.
your Saturn return.
I need all the support I could get.
Yes, so the reason why I wrote this book, first of all, it was the book I wanted to have when I started studying astrology.
That's
There
what I'm
isn't one.
saying.
There
Yes.
isn't one.
Yes.
I saw somebody posting on Threads recently that to be an astrologer, you have to understand the patterns. Like your mind has to understand the patterns. And I agree with that. Astrology is a language of energy. That's the first thing that astrology is, right? That would be my definition. The shortest definition, it's a language of energy. But it also is the study of patterns, like the movements, the returning, Saturn return, the squares, it's like a cyclical motion. If you look, I love that you have the sun behind you, the cyclical patterns of the moon, Venus, Mars, and time, the concept of time.
Yes.
With this book, what I'm trying to help people understand is that the Saturn return, it's much more than just a Saturn return. For example, have you heard of the 7-year itch?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Long time ago. I've heard of that. Yes.
That's how Saturn moves in 7-year intervals. So
Whoa.
it's a whole circle around your chart. And so every 7 years, you get a visit from Saturn. It's like a check-in. Oh,
Yes.
so how are you doing with that? Okay, so how are you doing with that? Okay, now it's time
Yeah.
to work on this. And so this book sheds light on that 7 year, 7 year, 7 year. When are the times when Saturn is going to come knock at your door? When are times to work hard, times of contraction? I also shed light on how important Saturn is to build your life, the life of your dreams, that what you want, whether that is relationship, career, a family, it's all Saturn. Saturn is the great builder. And actually, it was really important that you said, in traditional astrology, there's and we have to also talk that astrology, patriarchy was infused in everything, including astrology, because that's you wouldn't survive otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Saturn and traditional astrologers, I'm not a traditional astrologer, but I do take things from it that resonate with me. Um, Saturn is like the old grandma, kind of like the matriarch that, along with Venus and the moon, you know, with the moon being the mother and Venus being the lover, but like Saturn's kind of like that grandma energy, kind of tough love that you need to build the life of your dreams. If you're not working with Saturn, the long term is going to be difficult. So that's what I wanted to shed light on. And I do that with every single planet. For example, Saturn takes 29 years to go around the zodiac. Venus does that in 1 year. You get your Venus return every year. How are you gonna enjoy it? Venus is about pleasure and enjoyment. How to work with it and not against it. For example, you're gonna have also information about your Jupiter return every 12 years. Every 12 years at age 12, you know, um, 24, la la la. Those are moments of expansion instead of contraction,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of knowing your own timeline, and it is more about flowing with your own, this is all by age. So you're gonna see in the book, I have a timeline in which you can look how old you are and what activations you're gonna have next year, for example. Are you
Yeah.
having a Saturn transit? Because there are many more, not just the return. There's the square, the opposition, all of that.
Yeah.
Or are you having a Jupiter transit? Or are you having a nodal activation, which is destiny, fate, soul path, and all of that? What's coming in the next year? What to focus on? That's what I wanted to create that book, because when I was studying, all the parts were kind of all over the place and nothing really encompassed it. And when I took on this job, because I'm famous for giving myself really difficult, you know, homeworks or tasks, I realized why no one has had ever done it.
Oh, okay.
It's
Not
you
easy.
have it's not easy. Well, it's easy with the ones that are predictable. Like the moon, most of the planets are predictable. They're easily predictable. We know exactly where they're going to be.
Right.
Chiron and Pluto, which are not planets,
Right.
right? Pluto
Right.
was demoted
Yes.
because it does not behave like a planet.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't mean that it's not important, by the way.
That's
It's
exactly
even
right.
more important, in my opinion.
I love it.
And Chiron, the wounded healer, which I'm obsessed with. And if you want to find out about, I have a YouTube video and a blog on my website. It's my favorite archetype of the healer. Also has an irregular orbit.
Irregular orbit.
So those are less predictable.
Less
And
predictable.
they were difficult. It was difficult for me to bring them in because of the generations. For example, no, but not everybody's going to get their Pluto square at the same time.
Okay.
It depends on the generation you were born. Chiron, everybody gets their Chiron return at around 50. That's a very important time, for example. It's a time of healing. But there are many different Chiron activations throughout your life. And when they happen, will vary according to your generation. So
Oh,
that's why nobody had done it before.
that makes so much sense. But you did. You figured out a way to be able.
I figured out a way, not only that, and this is when I give my husband, who is an aerospace engineer, credit,
Oh,
because he helped me a lot. Like the timeline was his idea, and he said, "Why don't we do this?" And I was so stressed out at the time. I was like, "Oh, I don't think I can wrap my mind around this." He said, "It's gonna work," and we did it together. And that's why I created a calculator that's on my website. It's free to use. I didn't close
yes.
it just for the book, in which you enter your information. You pick the planet, and there it is, bam, bam, bam. Exact times of beginning, exact times of endings, and when all of this is going to peak. Because, like, when you're telling somebody, oh, you're in a period of transformation, the next question is, when is this going to end?
It's very true. It's true.
When is this going to end? And also, that's definitely not the question to have. The question is, how do I work with this?
Make me better.
To work with it.
Yeah,
Astrology is so much better when you work with it and you don't resist it
I love that.
because it's all inside of you. It's all here. It's
Yes.
not out there. It's not the planet did this to me. No, no, it's part of us. We were born with this. We decided this. We choose our charts. That's the belief.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And I love that you said we can't blame the planets because what am I supposed to do in a Mercury retrograde? Like who am I supposed to blame for that?
I know, right? And sometimes it's not even retrograde and things happen and you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is a really good time. Tell us your website. It's www.
.naramon.com.
Perfect. On your website, I was blown away because you do have that calculator. You do have these books. You do book personal one-on-one sessions for people who want for you to explore their charts and everything. And then you do this thing that I have never seen before. You paint pictures based on people's charts.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some of your pictures and I'm talk about energy translator. That's exactly what that was. These are just like these beautiful, like looking at it and seeing the light and the contrast and the darker colors and everything. People, you can get a personalized birth chart painting right on the website. Can I just ask what inspired you to do that? And because I've never seen that before.
Astrology. I know it's going to sound ridiculous, but I never went to art class.
You are kidding me.
I didn't. So in my chart, I have a stellium in the fifth house,
Like
which
creative,
is which is the house of creation, children, romance. I have a lot of planets there. And every time I've gotten a reading, they said, "You're an artist."
right?
And I said, what? I mean, I love art. I used to say I love art, but
Right.
so through that untapping I felt like it was untapped potential. And at that time, I think I was having my I was having a Neptune sextile or trine. I don't remember right now. But anyway, Neptune, which is the planet of creativity and spirituality,
Yeah.
was in a very friendly position to my natal Neptune. And all those years, I just stepped into that. I got an art studio. I started going to art classes, but I hated the art classes. I didn't like them. I didn't learn anything. I mean, I'm experiential.
But yes.
And so I just needed to get dirty. And I got an art studio where I was living in San Francisco at the time. And I think that year I started selling my paintings. They just started going.
Wow.
hmm And I want to be honest that I struggle with that a little bit. It's because I have Saturn there, right? Going
Oh,
back to
okay.
Saturn.
So it's gonna be all, are you sure you did that right?
Yes, so it's always this like it can be better, like da, 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 this isn't that enough, and you never know. Sometimes people like the what you consider the ugliest painting, right? That's what
Right.
art is. It's subjective. And so I
Yes.
do sell my paintings, but I also am learning a little bit more to see my art through different dimensions. For example, the Luminous guide that you just downloaded in 2026, that's all my art in the background.
Wow.
That's all my art. And I also think I see myself more like a celestial artist than an astrologer, actually. I just don't say it that way. But
Yes.
I see it in I mean, I know it's going to sound silly, but I see it in my Instagram posts. I see it in my newsletters, in the way that I read for people. So all of it is art. I've done installations before. So, and I think that 2026 is going to shift on how we see art, by the way, big time.
Okay, let's get into 2026.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's get into 2026. So you just mentioned the Luminous Year 2026. You guys go to her website and you can like immediately purchase and download this beautiful guide, which I was flipping through and I was like, this is so practical. It's not intimidating. And it talks like about, well, you call it a living calendar and a ritual guide for 2026. And
Mhm.
in such, you're like, this is the astrology, here's the moons and all this, but here's how to embody it in your soul purpose. You've got ritual work that people can do individually on their own, meditations, like mantras, journal prompts, self-knowledge to take us through 2026 and help us to grow. So definitely pick that up. But I want to know I've been looking at your Instagram and you're like, oh, 2026 is different. Talk to us about that.
2026 truly feels like the beginning of a new era that astrologers have been talking about for a while.
Okay. Okay.
It just kind of packs a lot of, and I don't want this word to give anybody scary vibes, okay?
Right. Right. Right.
Because the word change
Right.
scares people. But it's
Yes.
interesting because it's the only constant in life. Nothing in the universe stays the same. Absolutely nothing. Everything's constantly moving, evolving, shifting, right? 2026 is really, it solidifies what began in 2020, which was a major shift at the beginning of a 200-year cycle when we're talking about cycles.
Oh, wow.
And people are like, oh no, 2025 was bad. I mean, yes and no.
Right.
Yes and no.
Right.
That people have been waking up ever since. Do you think that would be accurate?
Yes, absolutely.
There's been a quantum jump.
There
I mean,
has.
just look at how many people didn't believe in astrology and now they do. Now they want to know themselves all of a sudden, right?
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
have been good things. In 2020, we began a 200-year cycle of air.
Oh, the element of air.
hmm And we closed a 200-year cycle of earth.
Ooh, wow.
Yes. So think about that, right? It's no longer like the rat race and and accumulation and like material possessions. And that's earth at
Yes.
its low vibration.
Right. Yes.
Air is about the intellect, the mind, the intuition. I mean, the intuition comes through the mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's about learning. It's about time traveling, talking, speaking, everything that's air, right?
Okay.
It's also about activism and all of these things. We'll have a lot of Aquarian activations that have been starting back to back since then.
Okay. Yeah.
So 2026 is basically the way I see it. It's solidifying all this enormous shifting that has been going on since 2020.
Oh, that makes sense so
That's,
much.
yeah, that's why everything's like kind of decomposing. And this year specifically, everything started decomposing because of another 35-year cycle that is resetting.
Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is in her books. This is in how she does, how she perceives. Book an individual one-on-one with her. Okay, so anyway, what else?
And so what that means is that everything will change
Yeah.
around us because all of the outer planets, starting from Jupiter changes signs every year, so that's not rare. That's normal. But Saturn also, so Jupiter begins a 1 year cycle, but that's normal. Saturn begins a 2.5 year cycle.
Right.
Then we have Uranus beginning an 8 year cycle. Then we have Neptune beginning a 14-year cycle. This is all within the 200 years I was telling you about, and this is all within Pluto that started a 20-year cycle last year.
I get it. Okay.
So everything's going to shift. And also, I was also what a lot of astrologers are calling it what it is. It's like we also had a lot of planets in earth and water. Now we're having the planets in fire and air. So
That
the
is
elemental composition is drastic. So things are going to pick up, things are going to be dynamic. Everybody's going to start new storylines, new jobs, new careers, new partnerships, you name it, moving to another country, moving to another place within the country. Everything is going to shift. But that's why it's been so intense because we've been letting all these old cycles die.
Oh, that's why it's been so difficult for people, including me. I mean, I do one-on-one sessions and everybody's like, 2025, the year of the snake. I shed. I'm like, blah. And then we go into the horse and the air and all of that kind of stuff. But it's just, and the horse in the Chinese zodiac is going to be fire. So it
Hmm.
just all these patterns make sense.
Hmm.
I'm just like, I feel a little bit more comfortable within my body talking to you about these really big things. I really do. I'm like, oh, there's an explanation, you know?
And that's why I find so much comfort in astrology.
Yes.
For example, my teacher was talking about 2020 since I was studying astrology. A lot of astrologers were talking about it. I mean, you're just not paying attention. Sorry. Like, if you
Right.
didn't know, you're just not paying attention. When that happened, it's not that I was glad. I was just glad that I had something to guide me,
There it is.
to
Something to
help
guide
me
you.
understand what the world is going through, what I'm going through, what my family's going through, how to work with it. I went on vacation right before in purpose. I went to South America. No, I'm serious. Because I'm
Okay.
a big traveler. I have Sagittarius in my chart a lot. And if I don't get out of my zone, I need that. That's where I get my inspiration.
Right.
I said, we're going. And that happened. And I just like, I already did my trip. I don't care. You know?
Yeah. Good.
So that's why I find comfort in astrology, not for predicting and not for fear mongering, but to understand what is happening around us and what is happening with us. How do we insert ourselves? Because we're social beings, right? So, how do you insert yourself in a new paradigm? So, that's a question for your listeners.
Yes.
How do you insert, how you are transforming, changing, evolving, and awakening? If you're listening to this, you're awakening. How do you insert yourself in this new paradigm that is all about community building, learning? A lot of astrologers are talking about telepathy becoming a thing in the next decade.
I knew you were going to say that. My mind hurt. No, I'm just kidding.
That's funny.
I know. But whoa,
So the possibilities are endless if you are open.
there it is. Yeah.
There's so much you can build because since we're starting, if you heard, we're starting a lot of cycles that are going to last decades,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So think about the last 14 years. That's something that can really help you. 14, 15, what was going on then? For me, that's when I started astrology, 2011.
I got married.
See?
Yeah. Yeah.
So much, so many of us started things into 2010, 2011, 2012. Like those 3 years were pivotal. And so now, not that we need to stop doing that, but even, for example, you got married, you'll continue your marriage, but there will be a shift there. There's, maybe you do things differently in a certain way.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
will continue doing astrology, but I've been trying to adapt this year to new processes, new tools, new ideas, and all of that. That's why the Luminous Guide is to me that new. I'm such a nerd. I might not look like it, but I'm a very nerd. I mean, I come from editorial, right? So
Right, right.
I think that astrology can really lose its magic if you're just too focused on prediction, too focused on what's going to happen, and you're not embodying what's happening. If you're not going outside and looking at the moon, you're looking at the stars, if you're not in touch with that,
Yeah.
then astrology becomes boring. That's what I've
Right.
learned.
Yeah.
So it's about embodiment. It's about feeling. How did you feel about in that new moon? How
Yeah.
did you feel? What came through? And that is really the magic because otherwise you try to control things. And I've seen that happen a lot, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I went through that phase myself.
Sure. Yeah. We
Oh my
tried
God,
to.
I'm gonna have to control this. I'm gonna have to control that. Scorpios, a little bit of control freaks. No, it's just, of course I look at my chart a lot, but I just kind of like, how can I use this? How can I vibe at this wavelength?
We absolutely love it. So if you guys want kind of a roadmap, a little bit of a guide to help you through this transition, to make it like for you to, like I like to say, dance with the energy in the way that you can shift in your energy, millions of combinations. Pick up the luminous year 2026, a living calendar, because in this she's able to help us to go, this is what's going on, as above so below, and this is how you can embody it. This is how you can self-discover. I mean, literally, we've got journal prompts in there. I love journal prompts because sometimes I'm sitting there going, this is so big, what question do I need to ask myself?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, because each planet rules a certain thing, right? Each planet rules a certain area of our lives, and each zodiac sign is the energy through which that planet speaks.
I like that.
Right? So that's also why I think it's helpful. Like for me, meditation has been huge. I resisted it for so long, and it's
Sure.
the only thing that meditation and tarot are the two things that have saved me during my darkest moments.
Yeah, yeah,
Legit. I even feel bad because I was like, well, I only consult the tarot when I'm at my lowest. Is that bad? No, it's
right.
not. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
These are the tools that you need to get to know yourself. And so for me, meditation is also important, and that's why I'm putting it in there, little sensory acts, for example, like just little things that can get you in the groove of the seasons. And I'm injecting a little bit of Egyptian cosmology there because that's kind of like my latest obsession.
I love it.
Seasonal energies to work with the Egyptian gods, like Isis and a couple of others. And that's also what has been helping me connecting with them, with their help, with their guidance, and I want to share that with others.
My goodness. I too align with the Egyptian pantheon and all of the lore that comes from that. If you ever see even my logo, you'll see the Eye of Horus in the middle of the raven, you
Oh,
know?
yes, I think I noticed that.
Yeah. And so that's like the core. It kind of all drags back to that. And then you've got the pyramids and they align with the stars. And it's this ancient wisdom that you're bringing to us with practical application and the way, I mean, it's literally a handbook. And you guys, you can download it and so then you could carry it on your tablet, and you could be like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And then you could go, oh, this is what is happening. And now I know how to shift with the planetary movement. I'm all about with things,
Hmm.
the working with things versus dominating and controlling. And it's not because I always have done that. It's because I tried dominating some things and, shifting myself in different ways that didn't work. And then when it comes like this, it's like, oh, you mean this is organic? It is
Yeah,
organic.
for example, the Mercury retrogrades, they're annoying. I mean, every single one is different. They can be really annoying, but they can be incredibly useful as well.
Oh,
I was born, I have Mercury retrograde in my chart. It's the only retrograde planet that I have in my chart. So I love it for the most part. When everybody's freaking out, I'm like, woohoo, because it's like my language
I
and
love
I
it.
use it. I'm going to redo this. I'm going
Yeah,
to revise this project. I'm going to
yeah.
rethink that. And the reason why Mercury goes retrograde so often,
Yeah.
by the way, 40% of the population has Mercury retrograde in their birth chart because that's how long Mercury is retrograde every year. So a lot of us, a lot of the people who are
Heard it here
listening,
first. You heard it here first, people.
um, sometimes they can be magical if you work with them. They are helpful. And especially in 2026, they're going to be in water signs. So pull out your tissues and all of that. It's going to be like, all of a sudden you're going to be thinking about your first crush and things like that. But we need them. And the proof that we need them is that they happen because the
Yes.
mind, right? You need to change your mind about things all the
Yes.
time.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You know, I wish I learned astrology a long time ago, and I've read different books, and some of it I get scared, like what I was saying at the beginning of the show. Oh my God, I'm going into Saturn return. What do I do? And you're just like, oh no, this is a really good place for you to be. And then reflecting on what you said, and listeners, I really encourage you to go to her website. What is your website one more time?
www.naramon.com.
Naramon.com. You guys, I'm going to have it in the notes. Um, check it out. The calculator, I want to get into the calculator because the way that you're explaining things make me feel like supported instead of, oh, I got to predict when I'm going to have my next meltdown. And how to work with these energies. You make it so easy to flow. I Is there anything like as we move into 2026, as we're wrapping up,
Mhm.
what would you say to the listeners about, what would be helpful, maybe a question or a tool that they can kind of walk into it with beyond all of the things that you have to offer? What would you say to the listeners as they begin 2026?
Of course. So I think I have two two tools to share.
Please share.
The one is like if you already know your chart, which I have a calculator on my website, just look at your house ruled by Aquarius.
Okay.
Mhm. In that house, for me, is career. For you, it might be probably something else. You're Cancer rising. That area is what's going to get an injection of energy, a big push this
Ooh.
year. So focus a lot of your energy. It's easy, it's easy. It's like the number of the house.
Yeah.
Um, because that's where Pluto is. And Pluto had a rough beginning when Pluto entered Aquarius at the beginning of 2025. That was rough. But now all of that intensity is gonna kind of like it's gonna start figuring itself out. That's
Oh.
the area of life where you take your power back, when you begin feeling powerful. Like, let's say if it's the second house, it's finances, right? If it's the third house, it's communication. If it's the fourth house, it's ancestry. If it's the fifth house, it's romance. That's the area. And you probably feel like there's a lot of tension in that house. There was a lot of tension this year, on and off, but that's where Pluto's going to take a lot of energy from a lot of the other planets, right? That's kind of like a little bit of like an advanced tool. The second tool that I would love to give you is that you inspect, and of course you can do this with astrology too, but you can just do it by being conscious. What is your relationship with the air and the fire elements? It's
Oh.
very simple, right? We take the elements for granted, but they're in us. I mean, I'm breathing air, right?
Yes.
That's the air. I'm breathing air. I'm talking to you. We're doing an air thing, which is talking, podcasting. This is the air element, the intellect, the mind, the conversation. And what's my relationship with that? Am I utilizing my brain? Am I utilizing my intelligence, learning something new? That's the one tool that I'll give you. If you're not learning something new, you're missing the boat. It could be anything. It could be astrology, it could be marketing, it could be music. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're learning, that you're stimulating your brain, not by being on TikTok all day. I literally just told that to my mom. I'm like, you spend too many hours on TikTok. Are you kidding me? I'm not saying TikTok is bad. I post there too. But that's a more passive stimulation for the brain.
Right.
You want an active stimulation, which is
Yes.
learning, absorbing information. It could be social media, it could be shamanism. It doesn't matter as long as you're learning something.
Yeah.
And then what's your relationship with the fire element? You
Mm.
have a lot of fire, like me, and you might need to
Mhm.
tone it down this year because you already have that. Or if you don't have a lot of fire, if you second guess yourself a lot to initiate things, then you might need to work with that element by candle gazing, working out, running, anything that's like, that's going to get you up, that's going to get you dancing, right? Get you up and excited. Fire is an initiator to a certain degree. Fire is intuition
Yeah.
also. I'm sure that you as in shamanism, you connect with that.
Yeah,
Sometimes we
absolutely.
forget.
Spirit. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
spirit. It's
Absolutely.
spirit.
Absolutely.
So think about that. What do you need a little bit more of that, or do you need to reconnect with those elements? Because those are the elements that are going to take over for the next decade and a half.
Decade and a half. You know, I feel seen because I know my chart and I know where my, Aquarius is. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. And I know myself. And I actually, with the fire that I have, I'm like, don't run people over. Don't go too fast.
hmm
You
hmm
know,
Yeah.
it's personalized and it's beautiful. The interpreter of energy
Yes.
is with us here today. Like I told you when we were hanging up, I love you. You're
I love you
just,
too. It's such a good fit here. Like
it
I'm
really is.
so grateful for you listening and making space for me to nerd about what I'm passionate about because I'm so passionate about helping people and it's really my soul path.
Yes,
And
right.
every time that
Service.
somebody,
Yeah.
yeah, this is my purpose. And so every time that somebody gives me the space to express and maybe hopefully, and I'm hoping that this is going to help somebody understand,
Oh, yeah.
I love this. And we're friends now.
Friends now, that seals the deal, you guys. If you want to learn something new and you don't know what to learn, download the Luminous Year 2026. Every day you can learn something more. It is a living calendar that will walk with you for your own personal self-discovery. Thank you so much, Narayana. You are just a jewel. And
Hmm.
I have to have you back on the show. You guys say something, comment,
Yes,
share
please
this.
share, share,
Yeah,
share,
share
comment.
this. And we got to have you back on the show. We just do.
Anytime. Anytime.
You heard it here. You heard it here. You guys have a wonderful 2026. You are not alone. The cosmos is above you and within you. And I love you, and we'll see you on the flippity flip.
Bye, adios.
Adios.